Most people think losing 50 to 100 pounds is just about picking the right workout and dieting and counting calories. But it's not. What you actually need is a way to deal with the mental war that happens whenever you start seeing progress. Because here's the part people don't talk about: the cravings don't go away, they get louder. For me, the more weight I lost, they got harder and harder to ignore. And the reason most people gain it all back is because they're not ready for that. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what actually helped me: the mindset shifts, the structure, and the things I wish I knew before I lost the 100 pounds. First, we're going to go through the hard part that's probably going to make you feel worse, but stick with me. Because more importantly, at the end of the video, we're going to go through the fix that you can do to avoid all of this and actually have success this time at losing a lot of weight. If you failed before or you're terrified of gaining it all back, this might be the most important video you ever watch. So tip number one, and I think what might be the most shocking for a person to realize, or the most disheartening, is that the cravings are actually going to get louder. They're going to get harder to deal with. Tell me if you've been here before. You eat your meals, you check all the boxes for the day, and then suddenly at night, usually out of nowhere, the cravings hit. And here's the thing: you're full. At least I felt full, but you're missing something. Like I said, as you lose weight, this phenomenon actually starts to happen more and it starts to get a lot stronger. You might build better habits, and that is going to be required for you to do this, but the cravings don't go away. The more fat you lose, the more your hunger hormones change and signal to you that it wants you to gain that fat back, or at least stay within your realm of your set point. You'll either need to burn more calories through more movement or cut your calories even further. And usually when a person gets stuck in this cycle and they don't feel like there's any other answer, that's when eventually they fail. This means that hunger is going to hit you even harder, and it's not really your fault, it's your biology. But don't worry, hang with me. Remember, at the end of the video, I'm going to give you fixes for all of these. So I'm going to tell you a story on this next point. And it's my story, and it is a little more extreme than you might feel like you've dealt with, or you could relate very, very much to this. So let me know in the comments. I would love to hear who relates to this. But I remember when my battle with binge eating started, and then eventually bulimia. And it was through this cycle of binging and compensation that made a cycle that started whenever I was about 10 or 11 years old. So I made this this covenant, this pact to never eat anything bad, what I deemed bad. Now, remember, I was like 10. It was, chips, anything that you would think would kind of go on like a bad list, sugary sweets, anything like that. I never really defined the list. That's a first huge mistake. Not that that was a good idea in the first place. I'm just saying I never really had a defined list. It was just whatever I deemed bad. And I remember one day I ate pancakes and syrup. Now, I'm not exaggerating to you. This is like 8 or 9 months, approaching a year. I lost a bunch of weight by doing this and doing some other things as well. I lost close to 100 pounds as a kid from the ages of like 10, 11 to 12, 13, somewhere in there. And I remember I ate pancakes with syrup on them. And it was in the morning. It was a hockey tournament that I was going to. We were in a rush. We just ate it and left. Whenever I did that, I felt so guilty having realized what I ate. This was like hours later. Like, oh my gosh, I broke my goal to myself, after all this time. And I remember that night, or maybe it was the night after, I can't exactly remember, but I remember sleepwalking. Well, I don't remember the actual sleepwalking part, but going to the cookie jar, eating the entire cookie jar, and then waking up with crumbs all over me and kind of remembering it like it was a dream. And ever since then, now this stopped for me a few years ago. I'm 32 now. So about 20 years of sleepwalking and eating at night. And it's this guilt cycle that I could not overcome because I would eat and I didn't even have any control over it. And it wouldn't always be bad food. I would just eat a ton of healthy food, but my calories were extremely high. This point is about guilt and shame, and I have dealt with that very, very close to my heart ever since the age of around 10 to 12, somewhere in there. We'll just call it 11. At some point, you're going to break your routine and you're going to go off plan. You cannot expect perfection forever. And I know how it feels. It feels like you ruined all of your progress in one moment. And to be honest, the bigger that your streak gets, the harder it is whenever that streak ends. It's kind of like breaking a 90-day streak. I mean, the disappointment is it's immense. And I know that you probably have felt that, where you did 2 weeks in the beginning of January, you did so good, and then something came up and you just weren't prepared for it and it hit you really hard. And what makes it worse is you step on the scale and you see it go up immediately. And it's like, oh my gosh, all that work for nothing. But really, I promise that was just water weight. We're going to kind of get there with the fixes and solutions, but it's not actual body fat. But still, it hurts. You feel like a failure, and that fear of sliding back into your old ways and even gaining more starts to really creep in. I have been here. I'm right there with you. So what do you do? For me, I ate in order to cope with that stress. And then that cycle of feeling bad and guilty and then eating to cover that up continues. And then you end up gaining more weight than you ever set out to lose. And it's a horrible cycle. I hate to move on from that point, but remember the fixes are at the end. So let's go to the next one. The next one is about the isolation that no one really warns you about. You might have experienced this, but if you've never gone far enough into a fat loss journey, you might not have, and I want you to be ready for this. So I have a graphic that I'm going to show you on screen. I'm going to be looking at my phone. So it's a pretty simple graphic, I know, but on the left is the old you, on the right is the new you. The left has friends and has fullness of life. Sure, maybe not super satisfied with themselves, but you are living life. In the middle, before the new you, before you have sometimes new friends, I hate to say it. Other times you're just going to have your friends are going to have adapted to your new way of life because this is the healthy, the you 2.0. This is the new you. But in the middle, it is very lonely. And whenever you're ready for that and people start to, we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but when people start to treat you a little bit different, you just got to be ready for that so you don't go back to the old you because it will get better and you'll be in that new you side. It feels like everyone should be cheering you on. At least that's how I felt. Everyone should be proud of me for this and excited for me, but that's not the case. Friends and family might not support you, and sometimes they even hope you give up. It's not because they don't care, but if you change, that means that they are left with looking at their own habits and having to make that decision, do I want to do this for myself or not? Or do I want to stay the same and not improve like this person did? Especially if you stop drinking, you stop eating the same things, it makes people uncomfortable. I mean, at family events, you've probably experienced this. There's kind of that pressure to eat. Going out with friends, there's that pressure to eat and drink. And if you say no to drinking, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? It's like, well, I'm caring about my health right now. And, that's not forever, but there is a season where sometimes it helps to say, you know what, I'm not drinking for a while. Before long, you literally start to get invited out less, especially if you have like an office job or whatever. People start to assume, and they mean well, at least I think they do, where, oh, well, he probably doesn't even want to. We're going to a burger place. And the thing that always popped in my head was like, but there's healthy things to eat like I could have dealt with that, and it just kind of hurts. And then you start to wonder, wait, is it me? Do they not like me anymore? Whatever. And that's where that lonely middle part happens. But I promise you can overcome that. Okay. So for this next one, I'm sorry if you're feeling really down. I know I'm going to keep reminding you of this. At the end, we're going to talk about the fixes. Okay, I got you. But for now, we're going to talk about the MVP pressure. You know how when an athlete wins MVP or they win the championship or whatever, especially if it's like a position that really sticks out, like a quarterback or a goaltender for hockey or something, everyone from then on out expects greatness. Many athletes actually report being less happy after they win the championship. It just didn't fill them like they felt like it would. But I wonder if a piece of it is because now, if they're not absolutely great, the crowd turns on them. Once people see your progress, they expect you to keep it up. It's almost like if you don't keep it up, they're happy because you're failing and they don't have to make any changes. So it's this weird dichotomy of like, people are watching. It feels like you have to be perfect all the time, and the pressure grows until one slip up feels just like it's magnified. It's very big and everyone's watching. The next one is what I call the 5% problem. Have you ever woke up with your phone on like 5% and for some reason it didn't charge? Who knows, the electric went out or you forgot to plug it in. This has happened to me, and I've literally tried to like get my phone to make it through the day. I'll charge it a little bit in the car. I'll charge it a little bit while I'm at this station at work. And then I'll take it over to this area. If I'm training a client over here, I'll plug it in for a second just to get it to bounce between 3 and 7%, just to make it through the day. That's kind of stressful, and that's a whole lot like dieting. Let me explain. Being in a calorie deficit wears you down, not just mentally, but obviously physically. You wake up exhausted sometimes, even if you slept good. You don't want to cook, you don't want to move, you don't want to get your steps. It is just like a sluggish existence. And when you skip those habits, it makes it really hard not to just eat out because you don't have any food ready and you didn't do the things that you normally do to stay on plan. Then we go back to that guilt again, and that cycle starts. All right, if you're feeling really down by now, we have one more, and then we're going to get to the things that fix this, at least for me. So the sixth one is burnout. I'm going to, again, show you a graphic on screen and be looking at it on my phone. So there's this cycle of you push really hard, you plateau, you panic that you might slip back into those old habits, and then you plummet and you quit. And then eventually you try to push again. And that cycle just repeats and repeats and repeats. The worst part is that it takes a lot of effort. If it didn't take a lot of effort to do this, it wouldn't hurt so bad. If you fell a little bit, you could just kind of get up. But if you put in all that effort and then you hit a wall and you feel like you're stuck, it's hard to put in that much effort still. I totally have been there. You've lost 20 pounds and then you've gained back 7. Let's say you had like a binge or it was the Super Bowl party or whatever, and you gained back 7. Now what? At that point for me, and it's not even fat, it's just water and like emotional weight, which I know it probably isn't. It's not literally emotional weight, but that's what it feels like. It feels like the weight of guilt. But it's just water weight, but this cycle that, well, I may as well give up. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but I have been there. Suddenly you're heavier than when you started losing, and you could have just avoided all that suffering in the first place. This is where most people give up, but you don't have to. We're going to talk about the fixes next. Okay, so there is a way to avoid all of this. Having a plan and knowing what to expect changes everything. I promise you. You got this. You won't be perfect, but you're going to be prepared, and that is what's going to be the difference this time, so you're actually going to succeed. So let's talk about quieting the cravings. I have a SANE method, SANE, keeping you sane. That's kind of the reason for the acronym. So that is satisfying meals. We're going to break these down a little bit. Active daily movement, normalized cravings, and environmental control. Let's talk about that. So first is going to be the satisfying meals. These are going to be things like from my cookbook, totally free, link in the description and the pinned comment. High volume, high protein meals. Things like macaroni and cheese are in that cookbook, and it is delicious. Cheesy Mexican rice, it's fire, and it keeps you satisfied. And it's big, so it literally keeps you full because it's high protein. Having high protein snacks is also a really good go-to. Have protein bars. I know it's kind of like basic and almost feels like too easy of a tip to really take advantage of, but have protein bars ready to go. I'll oftentimes eat a protein bar before going out and doing something where I know I'm going to be faced with temptation, and it really helps me fight it off because I'm full from that protein bar. They don't taste the best sometimes, but they are very filling. And another piece of that satisfying meal is that they're quick and they're prepped. So the meals in my cookbook, they don't just prep 2 meals. They prep like 9 meals, and you put them all in, Tupperware, and you can pull it out, heat it up real quick, and it's delicious. It's about that speed. The A in SANE is going to be active daily movement. This is something most people never really talk about. And I'll tell you what people talk about the movement side of things, but I'm talking about keep busy with work, hobbies, dive deep into your work. Have a side hustle, start knitting and selling it or something. Start woodworking. And whenever you come home, instead of watching TV, being bored and needing a snack or something like that, go out into your garage and dive deep into something that it could make you money as well. But it's going to, 1, increase your calorie burn because you're going to be moving instead of sitting. But 2, your mind is going to be so entertained, you're going to have something to chase other than just being bored and eating food. The N in SANE is for normalizing cravings. It is okay to feel a craving. Get used to, I'm going to feel that craving. I don't have to satisfy every craving. Sometimes you will. Other times you won't because you'll realize it's just because you're bored. So practice that feeling of being okay, that I don't need to be comfortable all the time. I'm not saying to be miserable, but I'm saying sometimes you have a craving and it's okay. We're going to try to move past that by entertaining our brain. That could be things like I just talked about with active daily movement. It could be gum, like pick out a delicious flavor of gum, 5-calorie gum or whatever, diet soda, doesn't matter. Anything to get past that craving. And then environmental control is the E in SANE. And that's going to be keeping tempting food out of sight. So control your environment. I actually, funny enough, use a lockbox in order to control myself around peanut butter. It's the only thing that I really can't control myself around. So my wife uses this little plastic lockbox in our pantry to lock up the peanut butter. For some reason, I struggle around peanut butter. I don't know why. Tell me what your struggle food is in the comments. If you're watching this deep, then you're real. You got this. You are ready to lose weight. So congratulations. Tell me what you struggle with in the comments if you want. One thing I want to encourage you with is although the cravings don't get quieter, your results empower you to fight for more results. It's not motivation leads to results because your motivation will run out. Results lead to more motivation because you're seeing this change you're making in your life, and it is wonderful. The cravings might not get quieter, but you get better at fighting them, and that's why having a plan is so important. The next fix is moving past and not feeling the guilt. You will slip. You're going to eat something off plan. It's going to happen. It's normal. When it happens, don't panic, okay? Just remember me saying, give it 2 days. Just trust the process. Give it 2 days of doing your normal habits. That's your steps, your workouts. If you don't have a workout that day, make a workout that day, the 2 days after. Eat on plan. Give it 2 days. You can quit after 2 days, but you have to do it right for 2 days. When you do this, you're going to realize quickly, probably on day 1, I'm not kidding, day 1 of getting back on it, that meal, that day meant nothing. If it was a holiday, you're going to realize, wow, I feel great. I lost a lot of that increase on the scale was water weight and inflammation and puffiness, and it's kind of gone after a single day. Not a single day, maybe two. And then your endorphins start going because you're achieving something. You're pushing back towards that goal, and you are going to be right back on plan. And you're going to realize that maybe that day didn't send my weight up. It probably just really in the background, if you ignore the water weight that's going to drop off really quick, it probably just kept it flat. And if every time you mess up, you're just flat and then you progress again and then flat and then progress again, you are going to make it. In fact, I like to think that breaks from the grind actually help you in the long run to stick to the plan. So it could be almost considered like part of your plan, a forced break, if you will. Number 3 is about never feeling burned out again. And these 3 fixes encompass all of those problems we just talked about. So this one is not going to be fun for you to hear, but I'm telling you it's going to be fun in the end. And that is to use diet breaks. They are so much more powerful than people realize. I use these with my clients. Now, I've never had a client come to me and whenever I'm talking to them about this and say that they were excited that I introduced the idea of a diet break. So I get that it might not be the most fun. No one wants to take a break from their progress, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying take a break from your progress. I'm saying intentionally take a break so that you can keep progressing. This is a great time to add some variety to your food. Add a recipe that you don't really know about or that's a little higher calorie than you normally would go with. Maybe something, a lot of my recipes, I use ground turkey and really low fat dairy. Maybe you just want to make an authentic lasagna. Make it that week, Be willing to go out to eat and try something a little off menu. Maybe you're not intentionally going for the double baconator or whatever, but you're going to do something that is a little healthier. Maybe the grilled chicken wrap or something like that, but it's eating out. It's higher calorie. There's ranch on it and it's delicious. Maybe you have some fries with it, but you're planning in this diet break. That doesn't mean to eat bad and start gaining the weight back. It means if you're in a calorie deficit and your calories should be up here, that gap is going to lead to weight loss, but you temporarily increase your calories just up there. And then you're going to break even. You're going to be satisfied. It's going to reset all of those hormones. It's going to reset you mentally so you can get back to the grind. An underrated talent, I think, that my clients end up, learning from me is that some days are going to be higher calorie. And this isn't like a diet break. This is kind of like a temporary one-day thing. But let's say that day's extra hard. Add some calories. Who cares? If you're in a deficit, as I just was kind of describing, and for that one day you go up here and there's you're in a 200 calorie surplus because it was an extra hard day for whatever reason at work or workout, or maybe you're sick or whatever. Who cares if you gained, what's 200 calories out of a 3,500 calories is what causes a pound of fat to be added to your body. If you went above by 500 calories, that's 1/7 of a pound. It doesn't matter. The very next day, you're going to be right back on track. The very next day. Let yourself eat some additional food every once in a while. It's going to be okay. Another thing that really helps with burnout is shifting your focus, even if it's only temporary, but eventually you're going to get here, I promise. You're going to shift your focus to performance. So getting stronger is a lot of fun. And that's something you never really have to take a break from. And it energizes you. And that entire time that you're trying to get stronger, sometimes your weight will just be flat and you won't be losing weight. But then all of a sudden it'll have a big drop because you've been gaining muscle. You've been keeping up your habits. All of this stuff comes to fruition and you've been focused on something other than the scale. It really, really helps. The question though then becomes this: is your current program something that even if you do all this correctly is going to cause you to fail? If you're wondering if you're doing too much cardio, I was, or if you're wondering how much cardio to do, that's a valid question. So watch this video here. It's exactly what I talk about in order to help you with the cardio side of things.